Hey, what's going on, folks? Welcome to this week's episode of the Journey Journal with me, your host, Oscar Camejo, helping diabetics make lifestyle changes to reverse type 2 diabetes. That's what this podcast is all about. But you know what I found? That people who may not even have diabetes actually like this show. They comment and submit questions and they just want to know because you know what? Healthy living is healthy living regardless of, if you're dealing with a sickness or not. It's really important. People want to live a healthy lifestyle. So I'm glad to be here to give some information that is practical, that people can relate to, because that's what I want to do at the end of the day, provide information that people can actually use. I really don't believe that living a healthy lifestyle should be so complicated. It's just so frustrating when I see people who need help and they go to people or they follow folks on social media and they get all this crazy advice and conflicting information, and it just becomes so convoluted and it just becomes so complicated. So in this episode, we're going to really cover a really interesting topic. Basically what happens when your whole routine gets thrown off, specifically your health routine. You know how it is. You have a routine of exercise, eating right, and possibly even sleeping, getting enough rest, and everything just gets thrown off. What do you do in those situations? Because the unexpected happens. So I'm also going to be responding to a comment that was submitted by a follower who's been experiencing some setbacks when it comes to losing weight. You definitely want to hang out for that. And of course, I'm going to end the show by giving some practical steps for getting back on track and really developing good habits. So definitely you want to stick around to hear the rest of this episode. It's going to be a good one. Okay, so let's get into today's topic. What happens when your health routine gets thrown off? Listen, people, I don't know about you, but if my routine gets thrown off, there's like a whole ripple effect. I mean, for most people, there's like three areas that get affected: eating, exercise, and sleep. And it becomes this crazy cycle, this bad cycle. If you're not eating right, it affects your exercise. And if you're not exercising, it's going to affect your sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's going to affect how you eat. If you're going to bed late, eating snacks late at night because you have cravings and all kinds of stuff. I actually have a whole episode talking about dealing with, poor sleeping habits. It's called Sweet Dreams. So definitely check that out. But yeah, there's like this bad cycle, man. Not eating right, not exercising, not sleeping right. It starts all over again. If you're not sleeping right, it affects your eating. Not eating right, it affects your exercise. You're not exercising, and inevitably it's going to affect your sleep. So it's just this crazy cycle, and for most people, your routine, your health routine gets thrown off because you get busy. You try to stick to a schedule, but stuff just happens. You have unexpected circumstances, unusual work schedule changes. I mean, things just come out of the blue at work and you're like, wow, okay, I wasn't expecting that. So it just kind of ripples effect and just throws your whole thing off. And sometimes it's hard to get back on track. You may be a parent and it's now the end of the year or getting close to the end of the school year. And you're trying to just plan all these different events and attend all these graduations or social events, school events, and what have you. And it's just, it's just throwing you off. You may be used to working out, at a certain time in the morning or in the afternoon. And because of these, events that were on the books, if you will, but it's just throwing you off as a parent, and you get exhausted and you just don't feel like exercising, let alone eating right and so forth. So, or maybe you are a business owner, you're trying to close out the second quarter before the summer kicks off and you're under a lot of stress. Stress, man, if it's not dealt with properly, it could really have a tremendous effect on your health. So I get it. You got summer coming up, folks, and y'all are trying to get ready for summer vacation. And let me not even get into the summer habits that you develop while you're away. You talk about your good habits get thrown out the door. Hey, trust me, I know. You're going to Jamaica or Mexico or Italy or wherever y'all are going to go. You may go camping, and the last thing on your mind is exercising and eating right. But you know what? You've been working hard at, developing a routine of good habits. So, when the summer vacation comes around, stuff gets thrown off. I get it. But listen, folks, we all deal with stuff like this all the time. This is just real life. But you know what? Without a plan to stay on track, we'll all eventually end up right back where we started. And who really wants to start back at ground zero when it comes to weight loss and living a healthy lifestyle? Man, not me. So it's just very important for us to put in place some practical things to help us avoid slipping backwards. So we'll continue this discussion right after the break. Hey folks, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Journey Journal. Hey, listen, The Journey Journal is published every Monday, followed by on Wednesdays, the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast is published. Now, the Beating Diabetes Podcast is the main podcast. That one, I go into a specific topic and give practical advice, sort of like this. So be sure to tune in to the Journey Journal on Mondays and the Beating Diabetes Lifestyle Podcast on Wednesdays. So be sure to tell your family and friends about this podcast and the impact that it can make on their life. Because listen, we all know someone who's probably struggling with type 2 diabetes, or they got the news that they're pre-diabetic and they need help. So this is the podcast that you want to tell them about. Let them know that there's some practical information that they can use to really build a lifestyle of change and impact their life for the better. If you want to submit a question or learn more about losing weight and changing your lifestyle to reverse type 2 diabetes, you can always email me at hello@beatingdiabetieslifestyle.com. I've been telling you guys about the Hi-Ho app. Man, the Hi-Ho app is awesome. If you want to submit a video question to me and possibly have it to air on the show, go ahead and download the Hi-Ho app. That information is in the show notes, as well as all the other information that I've shared today, including the resources mentioned in this episode. I'm also on TikTok, where I share videos on a daily basis with some really quick practical tips that you can definitely use to impact your life. So be sure to refer to the show notes for all the details and information shared in this podcast. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, folks, we're back. As I mentioned earlier, I get comments and questions that get sent in through social media, or I get emailed and so forth. So this week's question is actually coming from a Rachel. She was responding to a question that I actually put out to my audience regarding, what are some major setbacks when it comes to losing weight? So Rachel says, my biggest setback is the discipline to keep the routine, but I'm learning to break it down into smaller achievements that I can fulfill. Thank you, Rachel, for submitting that. Now, that is a very good approach. Number one, she's acknowledging what the setback is. It's all related back to the discipline. Number two, she goes into saying she breaks down the routine into smaller, achievable things that she knows that she can fulfill. You know what? There's a lot of people that try to go for the gusto and do the big things, and they want the big results really fast. They don't have any success because, they're shooting for the stars right away, and they haven't built those small little routines to help them to achieve big results. And I really believe in the small increments. There's some things that you can leap full forward in and you can knock it out. But when you're talking about building a lifestyle and building good habits, it takes time. It's not going to be done in 30 days or 60 days. Sometimes it's going to take a constant focus and constantly repeating what you've been putting in place to go ahead and build good habits. Because let's be honest, there's always going to be distractions to really throw us off course. But if we build in those small, little achievable goals, you'll see before long, you have a whole routine and nothing will throw you off. And if you get off track, you know how to get back on. So, here are my recommendations this week for staying on track and even getting back on track. So, number one, keep your mind focused on your goals. Number two, plan ahead. Number three, set boundaries. And number four, don't skip the routine, adjust instead. Number one, keep your mind focused on your goals. You know, it's going to be very important that your goals are at the forefront of your thinking often. One thing that I've done is I've cut off watching television during the week, and it's been maybe several weeks now where I don't even watch TV even on the weekends because I'm focused on my personal health goals as well as some other things I have going on with the podcast and just some other things in the works that it just keeps me focused on achieving my goals. So I don't have time to really slip back. So one thing that I recommend you all do is something that I do. I read books. I listen to audio books on self-improvement. I listen to podcasts all the time. I'm reading articles. I'm on social media researching topics. You name it. I want to keep my goals and the things that I'm trying to achieve at the forefront of my thinking. So TV to me has become a waste of time. It's a luxury, it's not a necessity. So that's something that I recommend, keeping your mind focused on your goals. If you have to use sticky notes to place them all over the place to remind you of what you are focused on and trying to achieve, do that. Now, planning ahead, whether you're about to go on vacation or let's say you have an event that is going to throw your schedule off for whatever reason, plan ahead as far in advance as you can. You see, plan for success, don't wait for it. I really believe in planning for success and not waiting for it. You know, if that means getting a whole calendar and looking at, okay, this thing is coming up, or this is going to happen at work or at school, or, one of your kids has an end of the year event, map all of that out and look at what things are going to throw you off. That, hey, if you normally work out in the morning or in the afternoon, but this event is going to throw you off, plan around it. So that actually goes into number 3 and number 4, setting boundaries. If you are like how I used to be, boundaries are very, very hard, especially if you're a giving person and you like helping people. People recognize your gifts and talents and they want to take advantage of it. And so what that means is sometimes they call on you to do things that are not in the scope of what you would normally do. They want you to help plan a party or help do this and help do that. I'm not saying no, that you should say no, but I've also heard it said that success is the ability to say no to 1,000 things. Let that sink in. Let me repeat it. Success is the ability to say no to 1,000 things. You got to say yes to the right things and the things that are really going to be beneficial, because you may have a giving heart, a supportive heart, and so forth, but don't overwork yourself to please other people, and then your health and your sleep and your eating and even your time with family gets negatively impacted. It's not worth it, people. So I can do a whole episode on that. I've made some mistakes in that area, but in any case. So number 4, don't skip the routine, adjust instead. So going back to number 2, where it talks about planning ahead, and then number 3, setting boundaries. Listen, you're going to have to make some adjustments to ensure that you don't skip doing the good stuff. Again, if it's a work schedule that is unexpected, I get it. But you can build in some buffers. You can build in a plan B. Okay. Like for me, this past week was really, really busy for me with the type of job that I have and all the stuff I have going on. So I knew that there's things that are going to be coming up. I normally work out in the afternoons about, 4 o'clock, maybe 4 to 6. But around that time, I just knew that I had to prepare for some evening events that were just going to completely throw off my schedule, and not only that, but I would be getting home later. So that means, guess what? I'm not able to cook like I normally would at night for a couple of days in the week. So when it came to exercising, I said, okay, I can't work out in the afternoon, but I'm definitely going to work out. So I got up earlier on those days, and one day in particular, and I said, okay, I'm going to get to the gym at 6:30 in the morning, between 6 and 6:30 in the morning. I'll be done by 8 o'clock or so, and then I can go about my day and do what I need to do. So I was able to definitely maintain my physical health, and my routine is just at a different time. But guess what? That also meant that I needed to get to bed earlier the night before. So see, everything has a ripple effect. So I know I needed to get to bed earlier the night before. So you get my point. So if you can, please don't skip your routine. If you have to meal prep for 2 days because you have this thing going on, so prep your lunches, even your breakfast and dinner if you can for the next 2 days. So folks, I definitely want you to keep in mind this very important thing. Don't skip your routine. I want you to adjust instead. Listen, there's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be something that comes to throw you off. That's why I say you have to prepare for it. You have to have the mindset that no matter what, even if you skip a day of working out, you know that, hey, I have to stay on top of this good thing. I have to stay on top of eating right. Yeah, there's going to be times where things throw you off, but I don't want you to quit. I want you to adjust instead. It's going to be important because guess what? The more and more you keep avoiding doing the good thing, that becomes another opportunity for you to avoid it again. Then you avoid it the next day. Then before you know it, you look up and 2 weeks have gone by and you haven't been in the gym. I know that's not your goal. Your goal is to be consistent. If your routine is to be in the gym 3 days out of the week, I want you to protect that decision, folks. I don't want you to give up, cave in, and quit. If you have to adjust, adjust. I'd rather you go into the gym or prepare your meals ahead of time than you just automatically say, you know what, next week is going to be busy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to work out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cook. So you know what, we might as well just go ahead and just eat out. Or we're going to be on vacation and, I know the country we're going to be in or the state we're going to be in or the city, I really don't know what they're going to have on the menu. So we'll just get back on track when we get back from vacation. And then you go on vacation and you just eat whatever you want and you have a great time. Don't get me wrong. You eat exotic foods but then while you are doing that and having a great time, it's great. But then when you get back in town, it's like you feel bad and you feel guilty because you possibly overdid it. So I want you to protect your decisions, folks, especially when you go out of town. It's going to be hard. You may be around family members you haven't seen for a while and you're the only one that eats healthy and turning your life around. Hey, like I said a couple episodes before, examine options that are better for you than the stuff that you have been putting in your body. You can find, alternates. You can find better options. Even when you go out of town, plan for it. You plan for the trip, plan to eat right. That doesn't mean you don't enjoy yourself, but, still mix it in. See if the hotel or the resort, that beautiful resort that you're going to be staying at, You're paying $200-$300 a night. See if they have an exercise and fitness center, and make sure you work out your 30 minutes. Get it in, folks. Come on now. I believe in you. Believe in yourself. You got this. Come on. As I wrap it up, there's a book that I wanted to share with you all. It's called The Atomic Habits, an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. The author's name is James Clear, and I'm going to read a quick passage from this book. I think you guys are really going to like this book. I definitely recommend it. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. The same way that money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. They seem to make little difference on any given day, and yet the impact they deliver over the months and years can be enormous. It is only when looking back 2, 5, or perhaps 10 years later that the value of good habits and the cost of bad ones becomes strikingly apparent. That's powerful, folks. So, in summary, those little changes and adjustments that you're making to build a better life, keep at it. Don't give up on it, because after a while, you're going to see results. Trust me, you will see results. You just have to stick to it. It's not going to be easy, but nothing that's worth doing is going to be easy. So do it anyway. You got this. That's it for today, folks. Until next time, stay focused, keep moving, never go back. Trust God. You got this. I believe in you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Beating Diabetes podcast with Oscar Camejo. We hope you enjoyed this episode. As a reminder, this podcast is intended for motivational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional care by a physician or other healthcare professional or qualified fitness instructor. This podcast is provided on the understanding that it does not constitute medical or professional advice or services. If you're looking for help on your journey, seek a qualified medical practitioner. It's important that you utilize someone who is a trained, licensed healthcare professional who can help you on your journey toward good health.